Hello, and welcome to this Meta Deep Dive series. Today, we are going to be talking about the perfect marketing mix for your cannabis brand or company. Today, I have Kim Prince and Parisa Mansouri Rad, and we are going to introduce ourselves. We're going to start with Kim over here from Proven Media.
Hi, I'm Kim Prince. I am the founder of Proven Media. We are a full-service marketing communications firm that serves cannabis companies, from dispensaries to brands to ancillary companies, and we work throughout the country. And we have a highly specialized team of marketing communications experts. So I'm super happy to be here today.
And Parisa.
Hi, my name is Parisa Rad. It's a little easier than saying Mansouri Rad. I also go by the Marijuana Mama. I am the president of 420 Collections, which is a Arizona-based edible company as well as CBD skincare line. I'm also a marketing executive, and I have my own marketing firm, MJ Mama Consulting.
Nice. Thank you, ladies, for joining today. So when we talk about marketing, there's so many different things that you can be doing for your cannabis company or your brand. I wanted to start off first with marketing for a product versus marketing for a dispensary or a company, because I think there are some major differences there that most people don't realize. So if you want to just share one or two things that you've seen that differentiate between a brand and a company in the cannabis space for marketing.
Would you like to go first, Kim?
I'll be brief. In fact, I guess the one thing that comes through my mind is understanding for both of them is understanding that both have to be highly compliant. The differences we can talk about some of the differences of whereas a dispensary might promote multiple brands and a brand would be promoting themselves and trying to build brand affinity for a specific brand. The most important thing to understand is the compliance for your marketing parameters for the state that you're selling in. So that would be, for me, the starting point.
Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes we need to remember that there's different target audiences for a brand versus a product. So, a brand might choose different avenues than a dispensary because a dispensary is going to be more, hyper geo targeted sort of advertising sometimes, and then a product is probably going to be at multiple dispensaries, so they need a wider range for how they're marketing themselves. So I think that's a good difference that should be noted when you're thinking about a brand versus a dispensary.
And I think it's also important for the brands to really identify their target market, because I believe a dispensary might have a little bit of a wider demographic that they're reaching, right? From anywhere from 18 and up, whereas a brand might specifically target a specific audience for that specific consumption method. So yeah, I would just say that you're going to be a lot more targeted when it comes to your brand, your brand marketing.
Yeah, interesting. So I agree, Ashley. What you were saying is a dispensary might be more geo-targeted, but with a brand, definitely more demographic targeted, age, income, lifestyle, much more so with the brand. And Parisa, exactly. I think that's one of the things we see are people trying to please everyone. And if they can target in on exactly who the demographic they want to reach is, it's to be highly effective.
Yeah.
And I would assume that the folks watching this are not only going to be running a dispensary, but also multiple brands probably under that dispensary as well.
Exactly. Yes. That is always the hope. So when we talk about cannabis marketing, it is very different from mainstream marketing. So not necessarily mistakes that you've done, but maybe mistakes that you've seen when it comes to cannabis marketing. What are some things that these new dispensary operators, license holders should be avoiding?
I can just speak on social media, Kim, if you want to speak on some of the other items. I would just say, going back to what Kim said, though, too, when it comes to compliance, that also means being compliant when it comes to social media guidelines, avoiding discussing anything that has to do with sales, really focusing that on other marketing, avenues, such as text blasting and newsletter. You can utilize other forms of marketing. But when you want to connect with people on social, you really want it to be more authentic, and you want to connect with that target audience, whether that's geo-targeted or, like we were talking about, more brand targeted. So, Kim, did you want to talk more on the newsletter and other avenues of marketing?
Well, Prisa, I think you're right. I mean, social is so hot right now, and Prisa has been really generous to share her information with all the clients that she works for regarding how to keep a social media presence without getting shut down. It's always a challenge. And I think a lot of people push the envelope, and then they're shut down, and they're not sure what happened. So I think, as Prisa said, really understanding social and the limitations. Again, a highly compliant product, be it by state, by your local municipality. So really understanding what works for the target that you're trying to reach. In terms of mistakes, I guess, and it goes back to that first question, really trying to target everyone. Well, everyone can use our brand. Well, unless you're like Coca-Cola and you have like a $500 million advertising budget, it's going to be pretty hard to reach everyone. And even with Coca-Cola, they keep their target very specific. So really, I think the green goggles, we call them, when they get into the business and they are trying to do marketing and they think everyone can use it. Well, yes, they can, but if you can get hyper specific, you can be much more effective in marketing.
Mm-hmm. And I
love that. And you can be a lot more creative with your marketing as well. And that's really what's going to win your brand awareness, is think outside the box. You don't have to do something that everyone else has done either. Being a new person into the industry, you can bring that new flavor and flair. So,
yes.
And I think that's what's important in this market.
Sorry, Ashley, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Having that niche kind of personality as a brand or a dispensary, that's what people are looking for too, because there's so many brands out there. There's so many different dispensaries. What makes you different is really what it comes down to make sure that you can make the most out of your marketing exposure as well.
And I think also what Prisa said, I mean, what you just alluded to, Ashley, is making an authentic connection with your, no one likes to be sold, but people like to buy. So making an authentic connection with your viewers, with your followers.
And there's so many ways that you can tell your story, whether that be on social media or through other avenues such as PR and paid marketing as well. So I know there's so many different options now for brands, where 5 years ago there weren't as many. Now we can have billboards, and it's getting exciting. So the sky is the limit.
Yes,
exactly. I think that's something that we want to touch on too. Going back to cannabis marketing isn't the same as mainstream marketing. So what are some things that you've seen open up for cannabis brands lately, and things that you're still having to kind of tiptoe around?
Well,
do you want to start? Go ahead, Prisa.
I was just going to say social media would probably again be the biggest challenge there, because obviously we're selling a product, right? But we can't talk about selling it. Mm-hmm. So that creates a challenge. You have to become creative, send people somewhere else to go learn about the deals, direct them elsewhere. So I would say the biggest challenge is staying up to date with the newest guidelines, because things are always changing in this industry, whether that is compliance for your dispensary or we're talking compliance on social media, and when it comes to marketing, specifically your brands on social.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree. Now that we're kind of on social media again, what are some pointers that you would say right away, like even maybe in your profile, to keep you compliant, so that even before you start posting content, like what are some things that people should be doing with their accounts?
There's words that you want to avoid. There's specific words that you want to stay away from. Anything that alludes to selling marijuana. You also want to list on your profile that you're not selling anything, that this is a no sales. You know, you definitely want to advertise that in your bio on your social media to avoid any issues. And you want to avoid talking about milligrams, dosages. Those are all things that have been flagged before for our company. Even when it comes to CBD, believe it or not. So CBD is also can fall victim to these guidelines. So don't think that just because maybe you're marketing one of your CBD products in your dispensary that those same guidelines won't apply.
Perfect. Being such a close-knit industry, how can people activate their brand in the marketplace with actual customers? Are there some things that you've seen done that you thought were really cool ideas in the cannabis space?
Can you say that one more time? It was breaking up.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Being such a close-knit industry, how can people activate their brand in the marketplace with their customers, you know, having that in-person interaction with them as a brand or a dispensary?
One thing is going to events and setting up shop, you know, pop-up events. We as a brand will pop up at dispensaries and we'll set up a table. We'll have information pamphlets. We'll connect with them one-on-one with our customer base that way. And that's an option. Obviously, going to events, sponsoring events is another great option for connecting with your direct demographic and potential buyers as well. There's a lot of events that are either B2C or B2B, so you can shop around and see what events are going to be targeting your audience.
And I think you guys do a great job of that over at 420. You're at like all the events around town. And I thought something else that you guys did really well is how you were able to capture the event attendees at your booth. So do you want to maybe share a little tidbit on, like, you know, the end goal is really to create that personality, but then you also want to capture. So how are you guys doing that?
And it did break up a little bit, but I think what I understood is how do you maximize your opportunities when you're out there?
Yes.
So not only are you getting that face-to-face interaction in real time, but we're also capturing their information via some method. So usually we have some type of giveaway, we have some sort of incentive for folks to sign up, provide their name, email, phone number for future ways we can connect with them and let them know about deals, discounts. We've signed up for text blasting, email blasting. So we have all the different ways of continuing our conversation and staying in touch with these potential customers down the road.
Yep. I think you guys do a great job of that too.
I hope I understood your question correctly. If I missed what you were trying to ask. Okay. Thank you.
That was it. Yep.
Okay.
You kind of touched on it already, but what is that dynamic between brands and dispensaries, and how can they play off of each other to get cross promotion between both of their customers?
Kim, do you want to take this one away?
Ashley, you're cutting out. I'm so sorry. I'm having a little trouble following along. Did you ask, can you repeat the question?
How are you seeing a cross promotion between dispensaries and brands so that they can maximize both of the customers for each?
You know, thank you, Ashley. Thank you for repeating the question. I guess I go back to what really makes the world go round, and that's collaboration. You know, working with someone, working well with someone, understanding what their needs are, understanding what your needs are, figuring out how you can come together. Whether, and Ashley and I have been helping, Ashley's been buying billboards for a client. So for a dispensary client. So the dispensary is not just promoting themselves, but they're also giving the brands underneath the dispensary an opportunity to come in and co-op on that billboard. So very much so, it's working together to further sales. So I don't know if that kind of answers your question, but really, you know, and I look at some of the brands we have 100 plus dispensaries here, and a lot of the brands are in 50, 60, 70, or a handful of brands are in 50, 60, 70 of the dispensaries. That's really a matter of collaboration, cooperation, come together on a sales agreement and that type of thing. So that's kind of what I keep coming back to.
Yeah, and you can create custom content. A brand can have a lifestyle shoot and direct the customers back to the specific locations to purchase the products. So you can get creative with your social media marketing, with your billboard marketing, your newsletter, all the channels. You can collaborate and create unique content with your partners as well.
Agreed.
Love that. So going into how to create the overall mix, how should someone start this? Like, okay, I have my brand, I have my dispensary, and I have my marketing budget. Now what? Where do I start with this?
I think it's a combination of things. You really gotta put your money into multiple different marketing avenues. One thing is I wouldn't put all your money into one thing. You gotta put it into different areas so that way you can make it work for yourself, and it's gotta make sense. I think you guys were just working with a brand that newly relaunched their location, and they're doing multiple marketing avenues. Not only did they hire a PR firm, but they've sent out influencer boxes to social media influencers. They've had the giant launch party. They're on billboards. They're doing paid ads. I mean, they're sponsoring events. They're doing it all. So you're seeing this one brand everywhere. I think to get the biggest bang for your buck, you kind of need to do that. You got to make a real big splash. So, that's what I think. Kim,
Yes.
what do you think?
Teresa, what Teresa is bringing into the conversation that I love is being creative and creating some fun content and creating a campaign, like following, come up with something clever for your content and something different. Related to the kind of more structural things is really look at your marketing mix on an annual basis, break it up into 4 quarters and then to months and then maybe even to weeks. Understand that if you're going to launch a brand, you are very likely going to need more energy, which translates into more money generally as you launch than if you're in a maintenance mode. But really building out a calendar and understanding what's going to hit on each quarter, each month, each week, etc. Budgeting for that so that at the end of the year, you actually know how much money you're going to spend. And then as Parisa said, really, it's a mix of things. You can't just, if you put your eggs in one basket, you're going to really, you're not being fair to yourself. So be good at 3 things, be good at 3 things and try to work those to start. I always say also allocate for some undefined and miscellaneous in your budget for the marketing mix, because something's going to come up that you weren't planning on and you're going to want to do it, but you're going to want to stay within budget. So, again, between coming up with something clever and creative and compelling, nobody cares that you think you're the best, come up with something that engages the customer, be authentic, and then set an annual plan for that and understand when the spikes are going to be. There might be a holiday. Again, for your launch is going to be a spike, but there might be certain holidays. We know that, New Year's Eve, from Christmas to New Year's is a very a good time for sales. So making sure that you're ebbing and flowing with some of the special promotions that you want to do as well. 420, 710, New Year's Eve, et cetera, et cetera.
And as
I love that. And allocating the extra. I really like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's one thing that I need to do because I'm always going to pay I'm going to spend a little more than what I planned to.
Yeah. It's good.
I need to apply that to my grocery shopping as well.
No dispensary shopping. Okay. No.
Yeah.
Right.
And as a cannabis brand, lots of times you're going to get multiple salespeople and advertising reaching out because they all want your money for your brand or your dispensary. So how do you determine which ones you want to choose?
Should I go first? I don't know.
Yeah, please, because
Okay,
I couldn't hear. Yeah, it's so bad. I couldn't hear.
I mean, I think looking at the ROI, what's my goal, first of all? Am I trying to just create brand awareness? Am I trying to drive traffic? Am I trying to, Am I dropping a new product? Like what's your goal? Figuring out that first obviously is most important. Then you can determine, how you want to move. So, and I just lost my train of thought.
I know,
Is there
and
any way for us to pause this?
Yes, hopefully they'll edit. What was the question?
Okay.
I'm not even really sure I understood it. Just because that we're having reception issues.
Oh, I think I know where I was going with this. I'm so sorry. I really hope that we can cut this out. Is determining the ROI and determining whether or not. So if it's going to be something that I'm trying to drive traffic, then having a way to gauge it is going to be imperative, right? We can throw an event and then we don't know if it was successful because we have no way of gauging, like, did we get sales? What happened from this? So even creating like trackable, incorporating something that's trackable is going to help you gauge whether or not this was worth the investment and whether your company wants to further market this way, so it's a little bit of just, you got to try a few different things to see what's going to stick and what's going to work for you.
Yeah, I love that.
And you know what, I'm going to just totally go 180 here on Parisa on that one. Actually, we love trackable. I mean, trackable is everything. Digital is trackable, trackable, ROI, I love to throw out the buzzwords, I heard a recent one, like double click to, dive in. But my point is I really believe, as a person who has experienced marketing for a live long life log or whatever.
Live long and prosperous.
Live long and prosper, like way old. I'm teasing. But my point is that don't get so caught up in the ROI that you think everything is measurable. I look at Disneyland, I look at Budweiser, I look at the big brands. Everything they do is not trackable. They're literally not running an ad. Okay, maybe Super Bowl Sunday, but like, in other words, a lot of things aren't trackable. Billboard isn't trackable.
That's true.
Product placement in a TV show isn't trackable necessarily. So make sure that you're allowing for things that aren't trackable. Like when we do PR, we aren't we're trying to secure true editorial, and those things oftentimes aren't trackable. They're not there to sell a product. They're there to elevate the brand. How do you measure that you can elevate the brand? So my point is this: take the time and the money up front to figure out what you want to do. Like, don't, I had a boss in corporate, and he always used to say, you can spend $1 million after you do something to prove whether you were right or wrong. Why not spend a fraction of the price and do your homework up front to make sure that you're picking things that actually, as in a combination, will work together to create momentum. So while, yes, I do love ROI and tracking and all that stuff, and it's super cool. And like Parisa said, for events, yeah, you got to get butts and seats and you've got to sell product ultimately. But understand that not everything, if you eliminate everything that's because it's not measurable, you're going to you're going to take a little bit of shine off your brand. That's all.
Right. Well, I guess it depends on whether or not you're trying to create that brand awareness.
Yes.
With your marketing, or you're trying to, drive sales. So
yes,
brand awareness, I mean, that can last years. I can tell you how many times I go back and I meet somebody years later and they're like, I remember you from this event doing this and that, speaking about da 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 da, and then that's brand awareness,
Yes.
And that is, like you mentioned, I can't really measure that 4 years later and say, oh wow, that one event. But
yeah. In fact, I want to Parisa, don't hate me for this one, but I want to give a shout out to Parisa. She was featured in Women in Weed magazine, in national publication.
Thank you.
All the major outlets. And again, that was an editorial piece. There wasn't, she wasn't selling anything. She wasn't promoting anything. She was just talking about her personal story. So that was very valuable for her to get the word out that way. But it definitely wasn't directly measurable. But like she said, sometimes 4 years later, someone who she touched their heart will come back to her and say, hey, I saw you speak and I remember you. So always remembering to make that authentic connection with your viewer, your consumer, and that, that those connections are very valuable as as Parisa knows, so of course.
Absolutely. Mixed marketing is definitely the key. They've got to add in some PR. I tell you what, this is the cannabis star maker right here. I wouldn't be in a magazine without you, Kim.
Yeah, you know,
So
yes, and actually, if we could, and I don't want to hijack here, but one of the things that Parisa and I, one of the reasons we're both on the podcast together is we work well together. Parisa is brilliant at marketing. She does her thing with the marketing. She lets us do our thing with the PR, and together we're able to really create some momentum for people. So again, with it's not just one thing. It's working together, working with people that you can align with and you trust, and you learn to really work well together. That can create so much momentum for your brand. And again, Parisa and I, we each have different strengths, but we bring those together, and she stays kind of doing her thing and she lets me do my thing and vice versa. And we're able to really have some fun and end up doing things like this.
yes, collaborate with your marketing.
Collaborate.
You can't drive that message home enough.
Exactly.
Go. Speaking of how you guys met, Parisa, we have an influencer here on the panel. How would you say that influencers have impacted the cannabis community, and how can you partner with them?
Is this one for me again?
Call Parisa, 1-800.
Well, you DM them. No, I'm just kidding. Get them in their DMs. No. Honestly, as a brand, we've reached out to different influencers. You can send them influencer gift boxes. You know, you can send them products so that they can try your goods and give their reviews. I think it's a great way for people to get an authentic feedback. You know, not everybody's gonna love your product. It's great to get that a wide variety of feedback from real people. And I think that customers are looking to real people to tell them where to go and shop as well, because the cannabis industry is restricted in its marketing avenues and has been for so many years that we have been solely working on word of mouth, excuse me. So influencers are just online word of mouth.
Perfect.
And if I may say, Ashley, and Parisa's being very gracious, but remember that influencers work hard to build their followings. So allocate a budget for influencers. Don't expect that because you think you have a cool brand, you're just going to send it out and influencers are going to be thrilled to just do something for free. Don't forget that they also spend money and time and dedication building up their followers. So make sure that you have an idea of what you want in return, and make sure that you're willing, if possible, to remunerate them somehow.
And I will say, as an influencer, you do get many samples. So if you want to stand out as a brand, to ensure that the influencer does mention you, then send them a gift card, put some money on it. You know what I mean? Like you're sending a gift package with just your product may not get you where you want to go. So I have to agree with Kim on that. Definitely create a relationship with your influencers. It will pay off.
Perfect. And we've talked about paid marketing, but if somebody doesn't have a big budget, what do you think are some ways that they can do promotions organically, or maybe some things that they can do on their own to amplify their brand?
As someone that was bootstrapping it in the beginning and didn't know anyone in this industry, I utilized a free platform called Instagram and Facebook. And I connected with people in the industry that I wanted to get to know, people that I admired what they were doing, people that I wanted to learn from. And that is genuinely how I grew my organic following. So if someone has no money, maybe they don't even have resources to leave their house, you can still access so many people on a free network such as social media. So there's still power in that. I know that it's restrictive on what we can post, but it doesn't stop you from being able to connect and still, grow a network online.
Perfect. And Kim?
It's funny, Ashley, I look at you because I think you're brilliant at guerrilla marketing yourself. And Ashley and I are speaking of GUERILA, guerrilla marketing. And really it's what can you do to market without, paying professionals to help you. So, some of the things we've talked about are, flyers, creating a website for yourself. And there's so many platforms that you can now do that yourself. Just being active, being involved, being engaged, going, as Parisa said, to industry meetings, whether they're B2B or B2C, just showing a presence, and then having, which sometimes I'm bad at this, but having your elevator pitch ready, having literature that you can give to someone if they want more information, or that you can email to them. So, just common sense stuff. But there's a great book out there. I think it's called Guerrilla Marketing, and it was written for mainstream businesses. But I still think, the lessons of what you can do on your own if you're driven and you're determined, and so that you stay within your budget, because marketing budgets they're like a huge, like a, what do you call it, like a sinkhole or whatever. You can just throw millions of dollars and never end up with momentum. So understanding what you can do on your own, and sticking within your budget, and we keep going back to getting creative. We had one client and he just created buttons, and they were really cool, like little, like lapel pins or whatever, but they were buttons, and they had funny, cannabis sayings on them. So it didn't cost him a lot, but he was able to really get the word out, because everyone wanted one of those cool buttons, or he'd go to events and give them away. So, get creative, have fun with it, and stay within budget. Well, it's about the budget.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So if anybody would like to reach out to both of you, how can they get in touch?
You can find me on Instagram under the Marijuana Mama. That's DA Marijuana Mama, MOMMA, or on Facebook and LinkedIn, Parisa Mansouri Rad. Kim.
Great. And thank you, Parisa. And I'm Kim Prince, Proven Media, so I can be reached through our website. We have a web form. You can email me, kim@provenmediaservices.com. We're on Instagram as well. I'm also personally on LinkedIn, Kim Prince with Proven Media. So I think our firm is on there as well. So we're definitely available if you want to give us a holler. I love the phone call too. You guys can Google my phone. It's out there. It's everywhere. But yeah, call me. Have your gal call my gal, I like to say. I'll pick up the phone.
Perfect. Thank you, ladies, for being a part of this panel. And as they said, just reach out online to them. And we hope to see you all soon. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Parisa.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Ashley.
Bye.